Hello, everybody. Welcome to SEACPP. If you guys don't know already, we're the Structural Engineering Club on campus. So yeah, if you're interested in structures, if you're interested in meeting a structural engineering community, then yeah, I really recommend that you keep coming out to these meetings, keep coming out to our events, and so on and so forth. So our first announcement, as always, is our Seos membership. So Seos is the national version of our club. In this club, in this organization, they have career fairs, social, and events just like we host, but they have professionals and students together. So applying is free as a student. You use a code on the screen. And yeah, I really encourage you guys to sign up for this. A lot of the events we're going to be going to later in the spring and the fall are going to be through Seos, so you might need the membership. Next is our general membership. For fall semester, it's free. Our membership gives you access to our tech tours, socials, and job opportunities. And if we ever do any raffles or any giveaways, it gives you access to that as well. So yeah, if you have any questions, just ask me about it. Next is our Yogurtland Social. I'd like to queue up Tram to talk a little bit about this.
So we moved our social to next Friday, November 5th. So it's still going to be at the Yogurtland on Valley, and it's from 5 to 6. So if you guys need a carpool, just drop a message in either the Discord or the GroupMe, or you can email one of us and we can arrange a carpool.
All right. Sounds good. I really hope to see you all there. This is our first social of the semester, so yeah, we're really excited for this. All right, so next is a big announcement. So if you guys have been dozing off, I recommend that you at least pay attention to this announcement. So Engineering X is a project that started off last year for PSWC. However, it defected from PSWC this year. So yeah, it's a whole new different project. And last year, SEACPP was able to host it. But since it defected from PSWC, some of the rule changes has changed. So right now, it's a head-to-head against UCLA. It's still going to be constructing and designing an obstacle course. And yeah, you can see all the details right here. But what's important for you guys to know is that SEACPP is looking for a whole team right now. So right now, there's nobody on this team. It's completely empty. We need everyone from PMs to designers to design leads to constructors. So if you guys are interested in joining a competition team, but you can't make it out to PSWC, which is in San Diego this year, I really recommend that you join this team. And if you really want to take up a leadership role or really challenge yourself, I recommend that you join this team as well. I think it's a really great opportunity. I was able to participate in it last year, and I really learned a lot. So there's going to be a sign-in sheet that's going to go in the chat for Engineering X. We're really tight on schedule, so please sign the interest form if you are even just on the fence of it as soon as possible, possibly by the end of this week. Yeah, that would be great. If you have any questions, go ahead and contact me. My information is on the sheet that's being sent out. So yeah. All right. Lastly, our social media, as always, is very simple. Facebook at SEACPP, Instagram at SEACPP. It's just our name. My email is seacppp.press@gmail.com if you ever want to ask me for some information or some questions. And our next meeting is going to be on November 9th. And now I'd like to queue up Jazz to introduce our guest speaker.
Oh, hi everybody. So today we have a guest speaker. His name is Chris, and he is representing the military. And he'll be talking about engineering opportunities within the military. Take it away, Chris.
Hey, thank you. Nice to meet you guys. Some of you guys might already know me. Some of you guys might have received my spam text. I actually met Peter from the club fair over, I think it was back in September. I was part of it as well. And we just got talking and kind of discussing the benefits of the military. And he figured it could potentially be something that, you guys might be interested in simply learning more about. Just to give you guys a little background about who I am. Once again, my name is Staff Sergeant Seos. I've been in the military for 12 years. I actually have been in California my entire life. I graduated from Diamond Ranch High School. And I chose to go into the military. The reason being, it just made the most sense when it came to my career goals. I had aspirations to go into the police force, and I wanted to make it onto the SWAT team. So when it came to job selection, I chose the Army because it's the only branch that allows you to choose the actual job itself. And I chose to become a combat engineer. Now, combat engineer, it's just basically like a field matter expert when it comes to knowing the ins and outs of explosives, as well as basically infantry. The reason I chose that was because it was the most beneficial path if I were going to go into the police force, right? I could have just as easily chose police officer in the military, but dealing with actual explosives and whatnot is more beneficial if I intend on going down the SWAT route. I was able to get a lot of opportunities. I was able to finish my education, and all the while the military helped pay for everything, right? The point being is that the military ended up being a circumstance that allowed me to accomplish all of my goals. I joined the Army Reserves straight out of high school back in 2009. And what Reserves is just a part-time Army. It's only 1 week in a month, typically Saturdays and Sundays, 2 weeks a year. You're only spending about 38 days of the year towards the actual Army itself. The reason it's beneficial is because, as I said before, the Army is going to help pay for your college education, right? I know a lot of students are relying on the FAFSA, but the FAFSA doesn't usually cover the full extent. You're typically looking at, they're going to cover approximately 90 units, which is 30 credits shy of a bachelor's, and then they're going to cover up to 9,000 a year maximum. So you're looking at maybe about 36,000 towards your college education through FAFSA. Other than that, they either rely on scholarships or grants, but as we all know, those aren't guaranteed. So that's where the Army can come in play, and they can actually help assist with that. But it goes beyond that as well, because as I said, you can choose a field that is relevant towards what you're trying to do. So I know you guys, being in the club, are going towards civil engineering. The military does have a lot of jobs when it comes to the engineering path, to include civil engineering. So what it looks like, you're typically going to have to get anywhere from a bachelor's degree to a master's degree, right? And that's going to be anywhere from 6 to 8 years of time just to simply finish out your education, right? Because when it comes to it, first off, there's the issue of priority registration. It's going to be you, the senior, going against your other seniors who are going to have anywhere from 4 to 12 years of college education because they took however long they chose to take. Point being is they have seniority over you, so they can actually get their classes before you even have the option. So that makes it to where by the time your registration opens up, that prerequisite class you wanted is already full, and that can delay your overall graduation date by a year, by 2 years, by 3 years. It just entirely depends on kind of what your overall, where you ranked on the overall seniority list, as well as just simply getting lucky, right? With the military, you're going to get priority registration. You're going to get front loaded when it comes to your actual class selection to make sure that you're able to get those classes, you're able to get stay on track for your overall graduation date, right? But fast forward, you do 8, 10, 12 years of education. Now you're gonna have to start looking towards employment. It's not gonna just be them handing you the job, the dream job that you wanted, right? In a lot of circumstances, you got to do interviews, internships to simply get your foot in the door, right? And that internship, it could be anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 years. Finally, 13, 14 years in, you finally started the career path, right? Now, there is exception. There are people who do have connections, who do have jobs lined up for them right outside of that circumstance, right outside of finishing their education. But that's not the majority. So the point being is you are trying to become a civil engineer on the civilian side. So as I was saying, what it could look like if you were to do the part-time military, you're doing your 1 week a month, your Saturday and Sunday, you're doing your 2 weeks a year. You're only spending 38 days of the year towards the military. But meanwhile, the military is going to pay for your education. But just as importantly, you're going to be able to have the opportunity to get work experience in the field that you're aiming for anyways. And that's going to be doing two things. Number one, by the time you actually get out of college and you start looking towards either internships or actual employment opportunities, you're going to have the work experience necessary, right? That's going to do a huge that's going to be a huge benefit when it comes to the hiring process, because you got to think about, how does your resume stack up to your competitors, right? You have X amount of years of work experience in most circumstances at something along the lines of a minimum wage job, right? Retail, food industry, something along those lines. You got the bare minimum education to be even humored for the idea of employment. And then that's pretty much what your resume looks like, right? Now, when you compare it on the military side, you have X amount of years of work experience in the exact field they're aiming for, right? You do have that education as well. And then beyond that, in the leadership, in the military, you're going to be developed over the next couple of years to become the next replacement, the next generation of leadership, right? So they are going to be molding you over those years to become a leader in some format within the military, right? So you have leadership experience, you have leadership capabilities. All the while, you're going to have communication abilities that they've helped kind of fine tune when it comes to you being developed as a leader overall, right? That's how you are on a resume in comparison. And it just looks better in most circumstances because you're checking all the blocks. You have the work experience, you finished your education, you have leadership potential, you have communication skills, you've been put in leadership positions, you actually have been trained to work under pressure, right? It's checking all those blocks to help you ultimately lead towards whatever your eventual goal is, which is potentially be a civil engineer on the civilian side, right? So it does help get your foot in the door, but it does another thing. It's also going to allow you to establish whether this is the right path for you, right? There's no guarantee that you're going to love the path that you're aiming towards, right? It's always the goal, but you could finally start that job 12 years down the line and realize this isn't what you thought it was going to be. You kind of romanticize what it was, and if you do ever find yourself in that circumstance, you're left with three really difficult decisions to make. Do I want to start over? Do I want to pivot? Or do I want to just tough it out and do it anyways, right? None of those decisions are easy to make. So at least by you doing it on the reserve side, you're not only able to establish whether this is the right path and this is what you want to do, but in the event that you determine this isn't what I want to do, that's a good thing to find out, because if you found that on your year one of education, you have the opportunity to switch majors, right? You can switch majors, go down something else that you think you would be passionate about, that you think that you would love. And as for the military side, you can always switch jobs, right? My original job, I said I was a combat engineer that had to deal with infantry tactics, combat, dealing with explosives, setting them off, clearing roads. Now I'm an Army recruiter. It's a very different set of skills. You know, I do paperwork. I learn the regulations, I enforce standards, I talk to people, I present. All the while I do training. Like, it's a very different set of skills, and it's something I chose to opt into later in my career because it's what I thought I would be more passionate about later down the line. And as I was saying, like, I chose combat engineer because it was the most beneficial path for me, for my goals. Goals can always change. People can always change. People can always grow, right? Who I was as a person back when I was 18 is not who I am now. I've changed significantly, and that can happen to all of you. One moment you could be going to civil engineering, and then 10 years from now, for some reason, you're passionate about cooking and you want to pursue that as a career path. You can't really determine how you're going to grow and what course you're going to go. But the point being is the military will allow you to establish whether that's what you want to do. If it turns out you don't, you could always switch jobs and switch majors, and all the while you're not having to pay a dime out of your pocket to finish out your education, right? You're able to do this, and it's giving you that time, and it's clearing up those obstacles, right? And all the while, it's only going to be 1 week a month, right? Now, when it comes to the active duty circumstance, there's what makes it really so enticing towards a lot of students is just the fact that it's faster. As I was saying previously, and pretty much any career plan people go through, you're going to need a bachelor's degree minimum in most circumstances. There's always exceptions, obviously, but in almost every career path, you're going to need a bachelor's degree or above. And the bare minimum time that usually takes is 4 years, right? But it can easily go beyond that. And fast forward, you're looking at 8 to 10 years in a lot of circumstances to finally get situated and started in the actual career path you were set out for, right? That's a long length of time, right? And at the end of the day, there's still no guarantee of job stability, right? There's no guarantee of employment. Even when I was in the reserves, one of my very first jobs, I was hired as a team leader at Target, right? One of my first jobs ever right into the military. And one of my colleagues, he was just a normal associate at Target. He had a master's degree in journalism, right? It didn't guarantee him anything. When it comes to the military and the overall employment thing, there is no job interviews. There's no internships. The moment you finish the training, you're qualified to do that job, and you can stay in that job as long as you want. And it's generally just faster. If you were to go into the civil engineering route or the medical route or mechanical, maintenance, criminal intelligence, any of these types of fields you choose to go down, it's very standard. You're going to go to boot camp, which is teaching you the fundamentals of being a soldier, and then you're going to go to advanced individual training, which is teaching you your specific trade skill, right? And I mean, we have over 155 career paths in the military, and we can pretty much offer just about any job you can think on the civilian side, on the military side. It's just easy to think of it as military is the brand name, but we offer just about every job, right? So as an example, if you're going down the civil engineering path, that's pretty much all the 12 series jobs. And roughly, give or take, it's going to take about 5 to 6 months to do any of those jobs. You're going to have to do 2 months of boot camp, which is teaching the fundamentals of being the soldier, and you do 3 months of job training. The moment you complete that, you're going to get assigned a unit, and that's your job. Now, you will relocate every 3 to 5 years when it comes to the active duty, which can be a deal breaker or it can be a huge win, depending on the person's perspective. It definitely can be scary to kind of go out of your comfort zone. But if that's a lifestyle that you're open to, that's you straight into the career. And it took you less than a year, and you can continue to do it as long as you want. You're going to be traveling the world on the government's dime. And like I said, it's guaranteed job stability, right? And you didn't pay X amount of dollars to get your education. You got paid a monthly salary to learn your job, right? And all the while, if you still do want to pursue your overall goals, your education and all that stuff, nothing's stopping you. You can still continue to go to college. I personally have over 140 college credits. I went in both the business administration and kinesiology path. I intend on finishing both degrees and still pursuing the master's. I intend on going into physical therapy as my occupation when I retire from the military, which I am able to retire from the military in 8 years because I've been in the military for 12 years and you only need to be in the military for 20 years to get your retirement pension. And in most retirements, you're going to have to wait till you're 65 to even pull from that, right? That's not the case with the military. You can choose to pull from your retirement the moment that you retire, right? So I'm able to retire at 38. I'm obviously not just going to stop working at 38 because I would just be bored, but I do have that option, right? Because I can live off the income of that. Now, what I intend on doing is I will pull from that retirement, and all the while I'll work on my civilian path when I do retire. Like I said, I do intend on going down the physical therapy route. Um, now, that's exactly why it can be enticing, because it's just faster. And it's not going to be for everyone, you know, but that's exactly why I'm a larger advocate for the part-time military. As I said, I did reserves for the first 9 years of my career. I was able to finish my education. I was able to go to full-time school. And don't get me wrong, it could be annoying in times when it comes to the conflicts of scheduling. But at the end of the day, the schooling and the employment industry both have to they have to compromise and work with you, because you have a governmental letter excusing you for your absences. They can't give you any types of repercussions, and if they do, then there's going to be a lawsuit which you would win, right? So going through the details of that, it can definitely be annoying, but I've never had any repercussions. I've never had it reflect poorly towards me, and I was able to accomplish exactly what I wanted to do, right? And another point I want to make when it comes to the reserves, let's say you all became civil engineers in the reserves, right? You're doing that 2 days a month. And you're more importantly focusing on your education to get hired as a civil engineer. If all your colleagues are civil engineers on the military side, there's a high probability that they're going to be civil engineers on the civilian side, right? You're going to experience soldiers who are from the age range of 17 up to 60. They're all going to be at different points in their life. With that being the case, you're working with them every day. They're getting, or excuse me, every weekend, 1 week in a month. You're getting it. They're getting the ability to see your work ethic, your competency level. They will be the ones who are specifically involved in mentoring you and molding you into becoming not only the best leader they can, because they will have you eventually take their place, but beyond that, to be the best employee of whatever field you're doing. You know, if I had when I had my former subordinates as combat engineers, I didn't raise them to be crappy at their job. I wanted them to be as good as they could at that job, because I expect them to teach at the highest level later down the line. And that's what you're going to gain from that, right? But beyond that, they're a network that you can tap into. If they're all civil engineers and they're all in different places of their life, they can potentially hire you. They can potentially give letter of recommendations. They can give referrals. The point being, it's increasing the overall probability you will get your foot in the door before some others, because of the opportunities it provides. But what I always use as an example is, take this. I give you $100,000. With that $100,000, you're not instantly successful, but you have a higher probability of success. It depends on how you utilize it. That's what I like to say is the equivalent of the military. The military doesn't just make you instantly successful. It will make you successful based off of you doing the footwork, utilizing every asset, every tool to accomplish your goals and become successful. And if you use it to its fullest extent, you will be guaranteed success, right? However, if you join the Army, you go as a civil engineer, and you're complacent, you're not making the steps, you're not doing the legwork to reach those goals, then nothing's going to change, because you let those tools, you let the assets that you got, you let it all go to waste, right? But the point being is, you are at least given those tools to clear a lot of obstacles you face as a civilian to ultimately accomplish that goal that you're aiming out for. And yeah, that's reserves, that's full-time. You can choose to go either, but as I said, I'm more of an advocate when it goes to going part-time, and the reason being is because it helps you accomplish all the same goals you wanted to do. It doesn't ever provide a circumstance to where it can be delaying your overall career progression. And in the event when you're even humoring the idea of this isn't what I thought it was, I don't like it, I don't want to make it a career, that's fine. Get out of the Army after you finish your contract. Those benefits are still there. They're always going to be there, right? You can't say that about a part-time job. If you work at McDonald's, if you work at Target, if you work at Walmart, the moment you quit, that temporary income stops. They're not going to give you retirement. They're not going to give you any benefits, medical, dental, life insurance, none of that. It's gone. So even in the worst case scenario of the Army not being what you thought it was and not wanting to make it a career, that's perfectly fine. You're still going to have benefits that will carry over beyond your military enlistment. You're still going to have all the tools needed to become successful on your civilian side. And then beyond that, it's a good way to get your feet wet. By doing the 2 days a month, you're able to establish, do you like the military? Do you like the culture? Can you see this being something you want to do as a career path? If you don't, cool, it's only 2 days a month. However, if you do, you could always switch full-time. That's exactly what I did. I chose to switch full-time military after 9 years, right? And I came in a much better circumstance because I came at the rank of sergeant, came at 9 years of service, and I knew what I wanted to do. So I came in a much better circumstance where it just ended up being a really good career to start in at that point, right? I didn't have to sacrifice everything just to simply get started into something, right? And all the while, I was still able to accomplish every goal I had on the civilian side, right? But yeah, that's the part-time, the full-time. Like I said, you can switch. You can go part-time to full-time. You can go full-time to part-time. You can switch jobs in the military. But the point being is the military is supposed to generally be a stepping stone to help you accomplish your goals. And it does definitely make your resume look much more impressive, and it's just supposed to overall help you accomplish the goals that you have out on the civilian side, right? With that being the case, do any of you guys have any questions for me that maybe you'd like to ask? Okay, I was seeing if there were any questions. Okay, well, that's pretty much what the military is. If you guys do have any questions, feel free to reach out to your vice president or your president. They could always pass it along to me. If any of you guys are interested in potentially getting a little more information, I can go into the actual details, the numbers, and break down things, answer what if questions you might have, maybe answer some what ifs you might have. Feel free to let your vice president or your president know. I'm happy to ask. And I'm more than happy to give my contact information out either through email, Instagram, or phone number if any of you guys need it. But if that's everything, that's pretty much what the military is. And thank you guys for sitting here and listening to what I have to say about it. Peter, are you there?
Yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah, I'll definitely distribute his email. So if any of you guys have any questions about the opportunities within the military, just feel free to ask me for that and just use that email as well. Before we end, we like to take a picture. So if everyone can turn on their cameras, if possible. And we can take a picture.
Need the screenshot.
All right, awesome. All right, this seems about okay. It doesn't look like anyone else is gonna turn on their camera. So, Tram on your account, okay?
Okay, smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that was good. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Yeah, thanks everyone, and thanks Chris for coming out and yeah, just speaking for us.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, man. And like I said, if you or anyone has questions or wants to get more information, just let me know. I come to the school at least once or twice a week too.
Okay, sounds good. I guess with that.